Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Office Hours Politics Edition. I am your host, Ziana Ali, and today we are talking about one of the most powerful ideas in human history. One that shapes how we live, work, think, even if we don't realize it. It's not a god, but people believe in it. It's not a church, but it has worshippers. It's not scripture, but it sure does have prophets. We are talking about the free market. It's symbolic, invisible hand. For centuries, economists and politicians have told us that the market will provide. That if we just let supply and demand run free, everything will balance itself out. But what if that's not science? What if that's faith? In this episode, we are diving into the myth of the invisible hand, where it came from, why it feels like religion, and how the moral compass and how it becomes and how it became the moral compass of modern capitalism. We will explore Adam Smith's original idea, how neoliberalism turned economics into dogmatism. In this episode, we will explore Adam Smith's original idea, how neoliberalism turned it into a sort of doctrine, the rituals and saints of the market, the myth of self-correction, and whether it's time to stop believing in markets and start governing them. Welcome to The Invisible Hand, when the free market becomes a religion. Let's start with the beginning. In the 18th century, Adam Smith, often called the father of economics, wrote The Wealth of Nations in 1776. In it, he used a simple metaphor. Quote, by pursuing his own interests, he frequently promotes that of society more effectually than when he really intends to promote it, end quote. This is what became known as the invisible hand, the idea that individual self-interest somehow produces collective good. But here's the twist. Smith only used the phrase once, and he never meant it as divine truth. He wasn't describing a magical law. He was describing a tendency, a social observation, if you will. Adam Smith actually worried about greed, corruption, and inequality. He believed markets could serve the public if they were guided by moral restraint. But over time, economics stripped away that moral context, and the invisible hand became something else entirely, a secular god. By the 20th century, Smith's metaphor was reinterpreted by economists like Friedrich Hayek and Milton Friedman, the high priests of the free market faith. To them, the market wasn't just efficient. No government could ever match its wisdom. No regulation could improve its perfection. And so began the worship of the invisible hand. The belief that markets are not just practical tools, but sacred forces. Let's call it what it is: market fundamentalism. Economics presents itself as neutral, mathematical, objective, but in reality it's full of beliefs that people hold with religious devotion. Think about the language we use. The market will correct itself. The market rewards hard work. Trust the market. These aren't observations, they're articles of faith. Like religion, the market has profits. It has rituals, quarterly earnings, interest rates. It has institutions like the IMF, the World Bank, Wall Street. It has sins, protectionism, socialism, regulation. The market even promises salvation. Economic growth will lift all boats. If you just believe, if you just work hard, if you consume faithfully, prosperity will come. Sounds familiar? It's the Protestant work ethic repackaged for the age of capitalism. Max Weber, the sociologist, warned about this over a century ago. He said capitalism was born out of religious values, especially the Calvinist idea that wealth was a sign of virtue. Today, that logic still runs deep. Rich people are successful. Poor people didn't work hard enough. The invisible hand replaced the hand of God, guiding us, judging us, rewarding us. In the late 8th century, this faith got institutionalized into what we now call neoliberalism. Neoliberalism isn't just a political policy, it's a worldview. It says markets are good, governments are bad. Regulations distort, privatization liberates. Freedom equals consumer choice. After the 1970s oil shock, Western economies turned to this new gospel. Margaret Thatcher said, quote, "There's no alternative." Ronald Reagan said, quote, "Government is the problem." And suddenly the invisible hand was everywhere. Privatizing industries, deregulating banks, cutting welfare, opening borders to capital. Neoliberalism didn't just reshape economics, it reshaped minds. We started thinking in free market terms: competition, efficiency, return on investment. Even education and healthcare became industries. Even people became human capital. Like any religion, neoliberalism punishes hearsay. Question the market and you're labeled irrational, anti-progress, or a communist. But here's the irony. The free market has never really been free. It depends on laws, infrastructure, subsidies, and global hierarchies maintained by the state. As Karl Polanyi argued in The Great Transformation, markets are always embedded in society, never independent from it. The free market is a myth. Every faith needs ritual. The religion of the free market has plenty. When the stock market crashes, we wait for the Federal Reserve like believers waiting for divine intervention. When a billionaire donates money, the media calls it philanthropy, a secular miracle. When the economy grows by 2%, news anchors celebrate as if the world has been saved. Growth itself has become sacred, a moral imperative. No matter the environmental cost, no matter the inequality, growth must continue. It's not just economics, it's theology. The saints of the market, people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, are framed as visionaries. They're not just businessmen, they're messiah of invention. They're celebrated for changing the world, even as they hoard unprecedented wealth. And every religion has sacrifices. Under market faith, those sacrifices are workers, ecosystems, and communities. Factories move overseas, public services collapse, gig workers burn out, all in the name of efficiency, the market's highest virtue. This is what theologian Harvey Cox once called the market as God. It has commandments: buy low, sell high, priests, economists, and believers, consumers. But like any god, it demands offerings, often from those who can least afford to give. The free market didn't just stay in the West, it became a global crusade. Through the IMF, the World Bank, neoliberal reforms spread across Latin America, Africa, and Asia. Structural adjustment programs in the 80s and 90s forced countries to cut public spending, privatize industries, and open markets to foreign investors. It was sold as modernization, a kind of economic salvation. But for many nations, it led to debt, inequality, and dependency. It's a familiar story. Missionaries once came with Bibles, now they come with trade agreements. Even after the 2008 financial crisis, when the invisible hand slapped the global economy in the face, faith in the market barely wavered. Governments bailed out banks, not citizens, and the same economists who failed to predict the crash were hired to fix it. The market never dies, it resurrects, because like religion, it offers comfort. It gives chaos meaning. When times are hard, people turn to belief systems that promise order. The free market provides that illusion that if we follow the rules, everything will balance itself out. So what happens when faith in the market starts to crack? We're living in that moment right now. Between climate change, inflation, housing crisis, people are realizing that the invisible hand isn't guiding us, it's choking us. The pandemic exposed how fragile market efficiency really is. Hospitals underfunded, workers disposable, billionaires richer than ever. And yet, mainstream politics still clings to market logic. Every social justice gets commodified. Activism becomes branding. Sustainability becomes a product. So, can we imagine life after the invisible hand? Karl Polanyi believed the market would always swing between expansion and correction, society eventually pushing back. And maybe that's happening now with calls for wealth taxes, universal basic income, degrowth, and collective care. maybe we're ready to move from market religion to market responsibility. Because here's the truth. Economics aren't natural forces, they're human creations. And if we built this system, we can rebuild it. So let's end with this. The invisible hand is not divine. It doesn't care, it doesn't see, it doesn't save. It's a metaphor, one we've turned into mythology. And like all myths, it served its purpose. It helped us organize, innovate, and expand, but now it limits our imagination. Maybe the problem isn't that we believe in markets, it's that we stop believing in ourselves. The real economy isn't invisible, it's made by hands. Hands of workers, teachers, nurses, farmers, creators. And those hands come together, we can build something far more powerful and purposeful than profit. We can build justice. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. I am your host, Ziana. This has been Office Hours. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and remember, faith belongs in temples, mosques, and churches, not in trade. Bye, guys.